all. Welcome to the combined DC Python meetup and Austin Python meetup. Thank you, Jacob, for hosting. Or Jacob, did you want to go first?
No, go ahead. You did it perfectly. You don't need me.
I'm Jeffrey A. Clark, or Alex as I prefer, and I'm the creator of Python Pillow. And I'd like to focus on the thank you, Jacob part because I have taken a year off of organizing events. I was only doing them quarterly, and they were online events like this. But this year, I just decided to not do any events and not think about organizing events. And Jacob has been doing this for a few years and cross-posting with Austin for a few years. And thank you very much for that. So I'm going to talk about Pillow and a few other important items, including upstream, which Jacob mentioned. But first, here's a bit about me. Here I am in 1998, 3 years after the first pill release. Python Imaging Library, 1998, or 1995 was the first release. I'm in school there. I'm okay. Trying not to say Jeffrey A. Clark, I go by Alex. I have a computer science degree. That's me getting the degree there. Fast forward to 2008, 2 years before Pillow. I was hosting, that's the Pillow Conference 2008. And in 2010, I forked the Python Imaging Library to create Pillow, which means I'm the pill fork author, which is the same thing as the creator of Python Pillow. In 2019, Tidelift approached Pillow and said, do you want to get paid for doing Pillow? And I said, hell yes. It felt like getting a record deal. It was a big deal. And we're still doing that, 5 years later. We have a 4 to 6 person core team. 4 of us get paid. We split it evenly every month. I can't live off of it, but it's still, my dream is that one day it'll be a full-time salary. And I actually am extremely interested in that concept of open source developers having full-time jobs doing open source. In addition to getting paid to do Pillow, I also talk about getting paid to do Pillow for Tidelift. So I'm a lifter advocate, and I advocate on behalf of Tidelift to help pay the maintainers, which is their marketing phrase for what I just described. Also, I'm looking for a job, so just get that in there. Let's talk about Tidelift. I love Tidelift. Their business model, I used to call Red Hat for everything but the kernel, because Red Hat sold services on top of the Linux kernel, and they were very successful. Since XZ, I'm calling it Red Hat for the middle stack, and that's because based on a blog post, which I have linked in here by Louis Vila from Tidelift, he describes the middle stack, which is basically not the huge Linux Foundation projects like Redis or Valkey, and not the kernel, but everything in between, including Pillow. So love Tidelift. XZ just happened. I'm sure everyone has, or maybe some of you have an XZ story we can tell later. But here's a few links about the Tidelift put out. And the third one is a discussion panel where I'm talking about a lot of XZ related stuff that you should check out. And this will be a PDF on the Pillow GitHub when this is done. All right, so Jacob said, I don't have any speakers. Can you do a Pillow talk? And I said, yes. And I also think that Austin meetup was going to have me talk about Pillow. So I don't know if this is that talk, but here we go. There's a million Pillow tutorials on the internet. I wanted to do it my style, which meant that I'm not just going to take some code, and I took my time putting this together. Wanted it to feel like it was my thing. Jacob suggested this Pillow examples, which I looked at. I love this article. real Python. Let me see if I click on these, what happens. Yeah, so I love that article. Lots of good stuff in there. When I put this together, I ran out of time. I mean, I could spend 40 hours probably easily putting together a talk. And so I got I got to the point where this was a talk, but I could do more. I came across this example, which I thought was really cool. This just appears to be somebody who wanted to write about a lot of the things you can do in Pillow. And I came up when I was searching for PS Draw, which is a PostScript thing in Pillow. Then this entire talk is about the manual, or excuse me, the handbook tutorial, which is on Pillow's documentation, which we brought along from Pill. So it's been around since the 90s. We keep it updated. I'm actually going to add some of the images that I made for this talk to the handbook tutorial. So thank you again for the motivation. So here's the examples that Jacob sent me. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I thought about breaking them out, but I didn't get around to it. So in all of those examples, there's try this, except, like less than 10 lines of code of how to do stuff in Pill. So it was from this website, which I didn't particularly like because there was too many ads. There's my favorite, and then here's the handbook. So every tutorial covers just open the image and look at information about the image, which apparently is different than loading it. So I'm going to run my demo while I'm doing these slides.
Alex, I want to interrupt you. For you, it's obvious, but we have absolute beginners here, and some of them never heard of Pillow. What does Pillow? Is it acronyms or is it?
Yeah, Pillow is the fork of the Python imaging library, which is basic image operations for images in Python. So if you're doing image processing, cropping, pasting, resizing, thumbnailing, all kinds of basic image operations you can do programmatically with the Python imaging library, aka Pillow.
So what's the Pill? So Python imaging library is Pill, correct? This is where the acronyms come from. And
correct.
Why Pillow?
It makes no sense. I chose that name because it was similar to Plone, which I was working on at the time. Plone and they were title cased or camel cased, capital P, which isn't a thing anymore on PyPy. Everything's lowercased, but it just was a word that was available that was not on the Python package index that was similar to Pill.
Okay, silly questions. Thank you. Please proceed.
No problem. So I made this talk in this repository and with Reveal, and the demo is in this demo.py. And so I'm running the demo here in this window. And right before, or when I first signed on, I ran this. Let me go back over here. So the first thing that happens is you see, when you run this, you see a welcome. Example 0 doesn't do any pillowing. It just says hello. It prints out all of the uppercase attributes on that object. So I is the image is from Pill import. When you want to use Pillow, from capital PIL import camel case, is it? Image. So just to get rolling, I thought it would be interesting to print out the attributes that were all uppercase. I don't know why I did that, but so and then I break into the console after every example. So back to the presentation, I'm going to walk through what we're doing. The test image that's in the Pillow repository that we use for testing is Grace Hopper, computer scientists, and PPM image format, which I'm not that familiar with, but I don't know the historical reasons why that's used, PixMap or something. But anyway, so in every example, we're going to from pill import image, and then we're going to have an IM variable that is the image that we just opened. And then as much as we want to, we can look at that object in the console. So I'm done with this console, so I closed it, and the first example ran, and that is this. Just show me the format, the size, and the mode, and then I drop into the console again. So that happened, and like I said, we have this IM object now, and you can see the same information here. By the way, even though I'm the fork author, I've never done, I basically learned pill the most I've ever done. I've done stuff in it before, and I've written some code for it before, but this was a deep dive that I really appreciated having the opportunity to do, covering everything, just about everything that's in the tutorial. And that was awesome. So next example. IM.show will do different things on different systems. In my system, it opens preview. So I get this Hopper, and you're going to see a lot of Hopper throughout all these examples. So there she is, 128 by 128 pixels. Ask questions at any time. You probably know, I don't know, a lot of you are beginners, jump in at any time. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do was flip Hopper this way. And rotating is counterclockwise for reasons I don't know, but the way to get Hopper this way is 270 degrees counterclockwise. So that's what I did. So let's see. We import Hopper.
I have a question for you for all the beginners.
Yeah.
When you write from pill import image, there is no pillow. What's going on there? So
it's just the name of the distribution name is.
No, but for the absolute beginner, this line, what does it mean first? Explain to them.
Right.
Why?
Python, let's see, what do I do? Fine. The package name is pill, or what is this? The module? I don't even know the terminology, but all the Python code is in here, and that's in my virtual M.
So you when you install pillow, but then it becomes pill, correct?
Yeah, because the distribution name or the package name, again, the terminology in Python packaging, I've been out of the game for a while, so the name of the package is pillow. So pip install pillow.
So after you install pillow, then you import pill, which
correct, and that's a historical, thing that we have to deal with.
Okay. And when you say from pill import image, this means bring only the image. What is it like? Is it a class or?
It's this image file in the pill directory. So there's also an init in here.
Okay. So it's a sub library, or is it like a class, or?
It's the name is a module, I guess.
Okay. So image is a module, or okay. It's some sort of object that Python handles. And
right,
now,
it's 4,000 lines of Python code.
Okay, and now you're doing your thing. And sorry for the interruption. Go back.
No, that's okay. It's good to talk about, because as you can see, like when you don't think about the stuff, it doesn't roll off the tongue. At least not for me.
No.
So
it's beginners here, so this is why it's important for me. I want them to get something out of this.
Yeah, of course. All right, so I rotated Hopper And I've been saving everything as a JPEG because I want to show it in my presentation. Originally, I was saving as the PPM. And then I'm not going to run IM show every time, but I'm just going to show you that she's rotated. Next example.
Hey, Alex, can I ask a quick question?
Sure, please.
In terms of, you're loading a PPM, you're exporting to JPEG. How many different file formats does Pillow support?
I'm glad you asked me that. At the end of this talk is the not covered section, and in that section is the appendices, or excuse me, link to a couple sections of the here's the tutorial. Concepts and appendices are good to check out. I didn't get to them, but image file formats is here. There's a lot, but there's most interestingly, and I also cover this, it's not Pillow is not used by GIS or VFX industries because of the limitation on the images with large data sets, and there's an open ticket to fix that, which is the first thing I've actually been interested in seeing done to a large, or with as much excitement as the Python 3 support added in 2013.
It's funny you mentioned that, not to hijack things, but the company I used to work for, I worked on a product that was used by the VFX industry that used Pill.
Which one?
Sync Sketch. But I just put in the
chat.
Did
Did they bundle and
like it didn't handle well, I can talk about it after. I don't want to take up everybody's time.
Yeah, no problem. So anyway, there's all the file formats, and a lot of the VFX software I've seen, they don't include it, but it's used to varying degrees by other, like maybe say plugins for some of these big VFX software things will have Pill installed, or if you install Pill, you can do this or that. Okay, so anyway, to convert, all you have to do is pick a file format and save it with that extension, which I was like, ooh, that's awesome. So here's Hopper, and there goes Hopper as a JPEG. And then I use the file command to verify, and I see that I have JPEG. Now, one of the biggest concepts I came across in doing this was in-place editing versus giving me a new object with the changes in it. And it's not clear in Pillow which is which. So as someone who hasn't done a lot of it, it was interesting to see which methods, do it in place versus which give you back an object with the changes. So here, as it so happens, thumbnail does it in place. So I've just thumbnailed that image, and IM is the thumbnailed image. So I just save it. And then I get a small Hopper. Later on, we're going to do resize, which will just give back the resized. So same as thumbnail, but you'll get back another object with the changes. Cropping, we're going to go through all the basic image operations. Crop just requires a Cartesian coordinate. And thinking about Cartesian coordinates is a little foreign, so it does kind of make my head, the wheels kind of take a second to think about what I'm doing. So here I'm picking just, like the left corner there. And then I get a little part of cropper. Then I want to paste that back on the original. So I go open the original, move on to image transpose.
Why are you transposing?
I'm following the handbook tutorial, which is very thorough, I guess, or it's thorough-ish. It covers a lot, but it covers it in a haphazard sort of way. And I found, I had various issues with it when I was going through it, but this is just the part where they get to they cover transpose, which is, if we look at,
It,
go
it
back
just
over,
kind of flips the image around the diagonal, but like why is it happening? Like what's the reasoning? I'm trying to figure out what you're doing here.
I'm going to paste a section of, oh, I remember. I'm going to flip the image and then copy it and then paste it back on a small corner. You'll see in a second.
Okay.
So in image.py, I think is the transpose code. I wasn't sure if that was another module or what. So I've got Hopper opened up, and then I call paste with the region I just created. Is that right? Hang on a second. This may be a bug, actually. Let's go look at the
This is why I was trying to figure out what's happening there. I'm confused.
yeah, you may have found a bug. Hang on a second. Let's just go back to the old tutorial. Yeah, so the bug, the demo code runs good, or is correct probably, but then when I was doing the presentation, I probably made a mistake. So let's see. Yeah, I left out the part where I was actually creating the region. Can you see that? So I create the region, which is a crop of the image after opening it, and then I save the region. Wait, didn't we just do that one, or am I going?
That's
Yeah,
the,
okay.
that's the previous one. The next
Yeah, I went back to the previous. Okay, so in 6, we should have, you should see this. I left out the part where I'm doing the region. I think. Does this work? Yeah, so anyway, there's a corner of Hopper on top of, there's a corner of Hopper that's flipped upside down and then pasted back on top of Hopper. And I'm trying to tell whether I actually, obviously I did it right. I did it right enough to write the file, but I'm trying to, it gave me the file, so this should be correct.
No. So the region is defined in the previous one. So if you run them on the same terminal, on the same console, then
that's the mistake. Yeah.
The region remains. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's the mistake. Okay, cool.
Basically,
all
you're
right.
taking it and then transposing it and putting it back. Got it.
Correct.
Now,
let's just catch up over here. All right. Next example, roll the image. I love this one.
Can you show us how it looks like at the end?
Yes, or yeah, I did in the previous. Yeah, there it is.
You're not showing it. It's you seeing it, Bobby.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there you go.
Here we go. So you took the small image and then you rotated it. Transpose was to rotate it like around the diagonal. This is the transpose, and then you pasted it back, this part back. Now,
right,
everyone can follow exactly what happened.
Right, and I need to fix that later.
Yeah. No, it's okay. That's good.
All right, so rolling image, I don't know who came up with this term, but rolling apparently means moving the image this way and this way. I don't think that's what rolling is, but that's what the tutorial thought it was. So I open the image, and then this is a cool part. The tutorial had a function code, and that is in the demo here too. So I'm importing roll from roll locally. So this works because it's right there in the path. And actually, I wish the syntax from dot roll import roll worked, because that would be clearer to me, but it doesn't. So we open Hopper, and then we call roll with Hopper, and then a delta value. And this happens to be the half the size of the image, and then we save it, and then we show it, and so you get, this effect, which was pretty cool. Here's roll. I'm the type of coder that just skims over all that, and as long as I get the effects. So I had to play with the delta a little bit, and then I was happy. So a couple of crops going on there. Obviously, if the delta is 0, you don't want to do anything, so just give me back the image.
Hi, can you explain the function? This is a function, right, in Python?
Correct, and here we're calling it in example 7, roll image. I open the image, which is a file, and I get an image IM object, and then I pass that IM object into roll right here, and I get back another IM image object, and then I save it. So, and now I'm just showing you the function.
So notice that he did from roll import to roll, correct?
Correct.
So for beginners, when you see something like this, then the first roll is a roll.py file that is in your directory or somewhere in the Python path. The import is what objects within roll you have to load into memory. It can be a function, can be an object, can be something else. But this brings it so your program recognizes it. And now he showed you the actual function. Can you go back to the function?
Yep.
Bingo. And this is how you define a function. You could have written the function in the same file, but this is actually a good example for beginners to know that you can do something like this in Python. It's very
Absolutely.
easy, very good language.
I thought it was cool as well, and here I am just working in the REPL. I have tab completion set up so I can look at the attributes and figure out what I want to do. And if I don't know something, I can fiddle around and find it out. Now we're going to merge images. Open Hopper, open me, and merge us together. And you get a saved, all these images I saved in the repository, by the way, so you can look at them completed.
Do they have to be the same size?
No, it just does all the work for you, which is nice. Actually, well, the image you get is awkward looking, but it just works. Now, I thought this was cool, but annoying because it was too big for the page. So I did it again and resized it. Interestingly, I had to save the image and then reopen it before it would work. If I resized the IM object, it didn't work. I'm not sure why that is, but this worked. Now this is awkward too because the perspective's gone, but you can do math there if you want and get the right aspect ratio or whatever.
You resized both images after merge.
I merged and then I resized, and I wanted to just do it all in one.
Oh,
I wanted to do it without saving, but I don't know why that didn't work. If I called resize on, it's probably a memory thing. If I called resize, it didn't persist. So I saved it, then I opened it and resized and saved it again. Now we get into cool low level. People that are into images will appreciate the low level manipulation you can do. So here we are splitting out the color bands, getting RGB values from the image.
explain the RGB for people who have no idea how images work.
Sure, and this is another bug because I left out the image, I left out the line where you actually open the image. Let me go back to, again, concepts and appendices here and see where they talk about that. I believe it's called modes. So the pillow supports these modes across many different image file formats, and so we're working with RGB, probably RGBA. I'm not sure, but we're
have a channel there, I assume, so probably RGB.
Yeah.
The A is for transparency.
Right.
But basically what he's saying, an image is composed actually of 3 images. One of them is fully red, one of them is fully green, one of them is fully blue. And
there you go.
Combine them together, then if you combine like maximum red, maximum blue, maximum green, you get the color white.
So here's red. I'm looking at in the console, the red object that I got from that split call. Has all these.
We don't see your console. You're not showing it.
You see it right here?
No, we don't see an image. We just see the console that you're loading something.
Oh, right. Sorry, I keep forgetting to go to the back of the presentation. I'm saying like in the console, I'm looking at RGB values right here.
Yeah. So basically you split the image, which has 3 layers, into 3 images. One of them are R, one of them G, one of them B, correct?
Correct. And I'm looking for attributes to show me interesting things like mode, info, nothing there. I don't know the details, but next we're going to swap bands. So instead of RGB, we're going to do BGR and save that result and see what that looks like. In this case, it looks like she's blue, so that's cool. So she turned blue because we swapped the bands, and that is a silly example, but I'm sure there's practical uses. I don't know if we have any image people in the room, but
I can tell you for sure there are many images. Can you show the original for a second?
Sure.
The original on the side or something.
Yep. Hang on one second. Let me go over here.
People will see what happened really.
Here she is in PPM.
Now notice all the blue became red and the red became blue because this is the things that you switched.
Right.
And there are applications for this in image processing later, many applications, but usually it's not switching the channels. Usually you analyze each channel separately or do some other combination, and you do have some manipulation, and data scientists sometimes play around with those colors. You're looking sometimes for edges on each one of them as if it was like a black and white image or something else. There are also tricks that are done in RGB.
Let's leave her up there. All right. Now back to what I was talking about earlier, where instead of changing the object in place, we're going to get another object and save that. Obviously, depending on what you're working on, you want to do one or the other. So you find out which method does what. And in this case, I get IM object back and I save it. And there's a thumbnail created with the resize method instead of thumbnail. Now we're going to do some
Resize can make something bigger as well.
Resize can make something bigger, yes. I don't have that example, but yeah.
No, that's good. So people know the difference between why you use thumbnail, one use resize.
Correct. Yeah, you can put any values into resize.
Make it skinny, like or tall, or
well, the one example back that where I merged was that's a resize. Smaller, but you can pick any values. So now we're going to go back to some transpose operations. I thought this was cool because these are, I'm not sure what those values are. Actually, I want to see that. Enum. Oh, that's interesting. So that's another object that does a bunch of stuff. So that's cool too. So I've called transpose with this object. This object is the argument to the transpose method or function, and then I get back another object, and then I save it, and it looks like this. So at first you may not notice, but the flag is on the other side. So I don't know what's happening in the transpose method. I don't know any of those details, but that's the result.
So you actually, the transpose in Pillow is not the mathematical transpose of matrices which rotate around the diagonal.
It's not?
No, because you can rotate around something else. You can flip left and right. So the transpose is just like rearrange your image.
Yeah.
It's good for example, if today I was scanning negatives of old of old pictures in the house. So now if you put the negative on the other side, you have the wrong image. Now you have to fix it. So this is for one example of how you can fix it.
Yeah, and it would be fun to go look at the internals for that. So there's all these, excuse me, what are I guess those are objects. I'm not sure whether they're function objects or what, but they're passed into the transpose method or function, and you get another flip top to bottom this time. Now, this was cool because back at the beginning, I was rotating 270 degrees counterclockwise to get hopper like this. And here, all I have to do is transpose with rotate 90, and I get the same thing. Actually, never mind. Forget what I just said. The hopper's this way. So she's not. So to get what I consider, or excuse me, rotating clockwise, you have to rotate counterclockwise 270. So I went through all the rotates. Here she is. Clockwise 90, which is my favorite. Then we get into some cool convenience methods, I guess, where in a different module called image ops, and there's 4 of these or so, and contain is, and I've left out the opening of the image, but I've opened the image, I've opened Hopper, and calling contain means make sure that this image is bounded within these 2 parameters. And so we get back a smaller image, 100 by 100. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but as I said, you're passing in what, X, Y, and Y is 150. The contain function takes the lower value and gives you back 100 smaller image. And this is called relative resizing. Then you have cover, which I think does the opposite. So you get back whichever of the bigger values is, it takes the image and makes it that big. So you can see this being like super useful in various situations.
This is for non-rectangular images, correct?
Yeah, no, I don't think the original size matters. The third of these is called fit, and throughout all of these, we're passing in the same XY value, and here we get back fitted, which takes that X and Y and makes the image that size. So that's kind of cool too. Then a really cool one is pad, where you give it a color, the X and Y, and you get padding on the top and the bottom. And I'm actually not sure. Clearly, we've given it a color, and the same X and Y. So it just takes the original opened Hopper and puts it in there. There, I remember to open the image. Convert is interesting, and again, at the end, I refer people to concepts, and L is 8-bit pixels grayscale. So whatever Hopper was when we opened it, we want to convert it to 8-bit pixels grayscale. The grayscale is the interesting part. So now Hopper's grayscale. The image enhancement.
We don't see it. You haven't.
Oh, sorry. Image enhancement, like Instagram, I guess.
No. Go back to the grayscale.
Oh, you didn't see. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Grayscale Hopper.
So what is the command again that you do?
Convert.
And what does the L stand for?
The 8-bit pixels. Grayscale. It's the mode. So whatever mode it was when you opened it, it's going to convert it to this mode.
Okay.
Now we're Instagramming. And detail is a filter that does something, I'm not sure what, but presumably this is an enhanced version of Hopper. I don't actually know what that does, but I believe there's a bunch of image filters that you can run similarly to get different results and see what.
I can help with this. There are matrices that you go over the image, and it's kind of like convolution. You go over all the places and all the pixels, and you apply a function, and you continue doing it. It's called a filter. And you can filter all sorts of funny things like high pass, high frequency, low frequency. You can make the image blurry. You can make the image sharper. Here we go.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
detail was in the tutorial. I don't know what detail does, but it's one example of what looks like 9 to 10 filters that are available.
Yeah, other parameters you can add to the filters, like how blue you want and stuff like this.
You can call different filters the same way here. So this would be blur instead of detail. See?
Yeah, but does blur has parameters that you can add? Like you can add like
Sure.
saying I want it very blurry or a little bit blurry. Because
That's a good question. And my guess is that you do that with transpose or something else. And this is a convenience. Maybe you can add on.
okay, so
addition-
filter. Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah, maybe you can add on additional, pass in different things. I don't know. Point operations, another fun one where we just go low level on the image that we've opened. And I'm going to call help on that because I'm not sure what it is. So that's what point does. And there's a lambda.
Explain what lambda is first for people, because
Lambda is a function that's running right there in that.
so basically we're saying it has parameter I, which magnifies I by 20.
Right. And that happens once or.
It happens once because you just define the function. But
Okay.
how many points? It's like the lambda is a function. You can define it above as def function, call it
Right.
my func, and then write I that gets I, and then I times 20. So this is, you could have done that. And then I am point takes a function. The question is, why does I am point get a function? So
Exactly. And point says that it does what?
it gets LUT and mode string. It gives you an image.
Maps this image through a lookup table. Yeah.
Okay, so your lookup table is magnify everything, the I is 20. So your lookup table, you're looking at each pixel, magnifying it by 20, meaning you
Yeah,
make it
something like
much
that.
brighter. Everything is much brighter now.
Yes. And there's Hopper, much brighter.
Yeah, 0 is black.
Yeah. And I remember I played around with the values and got something that looked cool.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And yeah, there was a bunch of different coding styles in the tutorial. Like I'm not a big, while loop or whatever that construct is, while something, do something. So I stuck to super basic, and I probably would have taken that lambda out or, may do that in the future. Yes, Kiara.
So I have a few noob questions, so excuse me, everybody.
No problem.
So in a nutshell, what is a function, and like how many different types of functions are there?
Function is part of programming in that it's a way to take some set of code and do it in another area so that you can organize mentally what you're doing. And the function example we have in this demo is roll. And so here's roll. So the function says, give me an image and a value, and I'll give you back an image after I do all this stuff, versus inlining it in demo. Like this is just procedural, here I am doing all the examples over and over again. So it just so happens in this demo that we take some of the code, which we could have included in here, and put it in another file, and that's a function. So what Jacob was saying was that, lambda could also, that lambda says, I'm a function right here. And that could also be, what would you call that function?
It's a nameless. Lambda is a nameless function.
Right, but what if you were naming that I time? What would you call that?
I is the parameter for the function.
Right, but what would you name this function if it wasn't nameless? Is what I mean.
Magnified by 20 or something like this. Or
Right. So
because
if we want to
brighter
create,
20. Not magnified, it's brighter 20. You call it.
okay. So if we want to write a brighter function, we can put it in a brighter file and take I guess, and then return I times 20. So that this and that lambda are the same thing. So in
The
over
lambda is
here,
not for beginners here.
yeah, it's I didn't catch that, or I would have taken it out.
It's all good.
No, but the function is if you
Yeah,
ever
functions are normal programming stuff.
if you need to repeat something in your code more than once, then instead of copying the code like 100 times, or then you make a function and give it parameters, and you just pass the parameters, and then you just call the function. It makes everything much more readable. Otherwise, code will be huge.
Hmm.
And it's your first stop on your programming journey, to be followed by object-oriented programming, where instead of functions, you have objects, and those objects can have sets of functions. So you're passing around objects instead of procedurally calling, moving code around. It's a different mindset.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so we're going to process some band. Lynn, what's up?
Yeah, so for this function, if you don't type return IM, then
You
this
get
function-
none.
right?
If you don't type return, then you get effectively this, which won't be helpful. So
None is something that Python has. It's kind of a special thing that says it's not a number, it's not a string, it's nothing.
right, and this is commented, so this function will run and it'll just die, like nothing will happen.
Yeah. And if we have beginners in the houses, then please explain the free the thing I'm a function. What's happening there at all?
You mean a doc string?
Yeah. They don't know what the doc string is.
Yeah, so this syntax is that I'm putting a note in here or a comment that is different than this kind of comment. And this is actually used by Python to, when I type help brighter, it will give me back this text.
It's a way to document your code. It's just text for you or for someone else reading it to actually understand what's going on.
You can also do
inside.
You can also just make it do nothing that way too. Procedurally, it will just return. Cool. All right. Splitting bands again. Source is going to be an RGB value, I believe. Now this one is doing stuff I'm not even actually paying attention to what it's doing. This is from the tutorial, but it runs here. You can see Lambda functions again. And at the end, we'll find out what it did because we'll see the image. So it's taking the bands, which we saw in an earlier example, and processing them, changing the values.
I can help here.
Okay.
So the mask, what it does, it goes to the to all the points, and what it does, it picks up all the points that are lower than the hundreds. What's it lower than the 100 and 225? This is funny. You might want to. It's like it's not. It's either or. You meant to in between 100 and 225 because it fits lower than 100. It must be and 225. Okay. If it's lower than 100, it gives you a boolean. If it's a 1, then it ends it at 1, 2, 25, so it makes it white. That's what I see. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. The output.
Yeah, so,
Go ahead.
so source is doing source is
You're making
Right.
everything that's above 100, below 100, meaning everything that's like dark black, dark red becomes very white. I think is what I understand, because it's all working only on the red colors, only the red channel,
right.
and the output is you just attune it a little bit less, and at every point becomes like slightly less, 0.7 of this maximum value. This is what I understand, but let's see how it
Yeah, you're
works.
right. You're right. I remember now. And actually, I was just explaining that the syntax of source and then index here is referring to source R is source 0, which is the first value, like in this split here. You're getting RGB values back. And then you're saying, here's some more RGB values. And in the first set of RGB values, the first value R, do this stuff. The second value G. I mean, they really could have just, I would have cleaned this up too and just put 0, 1, 2. And you don't need this really. Like this is 0, 1, and we don't do anything with blue. All right, so let's see what this looks like. So here you see on the right a little bit of, we did something there. If we look at Hopper down here, right? What do we do,
Fine.
Jacob?
Blue, we changed the red.
Yeah, I don't know.
We messed up with the red. What's going on there? Oh well, it's hard to understand what happened here. We'll have to go and look at the code. But
Actually, you know what they do? I took the comments out. Hang on a second. Let me go back to the. Tool. Okay,
so
here it is.
the command you want to show is the
Select regions where red is less than 100. Process the green band and paste the process band back, but only where red was less than 100. I don't know. I think they're just riffing on something.
and yeah, but the thing is the 100 and 255 seem to be like something either confusing or it's a bug there.
Yeah.
Because why
could
do you
be.
need both? Otherwise,
Yeah.
you do. It's something there is funny. You might want to check this thing.
Well, actually, maybe this. I think they were trying to make some obscure point. There's a lot. This thing is 30 years old, so there's some things wrong here in the
Okay.
tutorial. But and I think they're explaining that in here. But you know, who cares? So, because you're just trying to get the idea of how you do stuff. Image enhance, another module, interesting. Contrast, interesting. We are opening the image and then calling contrast with the image and getting the image back again, and then enhancing it with a value of 1.3 and calling that contrast. So I think we have, sorry, you didn't see me. I think we have a contrasted Hopper. But I'm not sure. That actually looks a lot like the original.
No. It's the original is down there. You see it's a little bit brighter.
Yeah. Okay, I see it now. So yeah, we enhance that. We're Instagramming here in these later examples. All right, almost there. This one was cool because it's animated GIFs, and I made an animated GIF of my cat a while back. So I dug that out. And in this example, which I think the example in the tutorial was different. I just, or maybe they had two examples. I didn't like the first one. Here I'm just going over the GIF, which has 3 images in it, and I'm saving each image and printing it out. And I did that over here, so we're all caught up. And you can see if I open all the snorkels, may he rest in peace. One of these is the animated GIF. That one's the GIF, so we can close that. So here's each frame. So working with sequences is cool.
How do you,
And
where's the save command to make it animate? Or
I used a different tool to create the GIF like 10 years ago. So I'm just taking an already animated image and opening it up and saving the frame. So I'm doing the reverse.
Oh, thank you. Now,
Yeah.
I was looking for the, okay, you compose and you get from images.
Right, and I think you can make them, but I'm not doing that in this example.
Okay.
Love this one too, straight out of the 90s, obscure PostScript example. There's a PS Draw module that we can use to paste an image in a PostScript document. And PostScript is like a text formatting language for documents. And so I pasted Hopper onto a single page of a PostScript document just because I could, and it was in the tutorial. And then I converted it on the command line with, what is that, Image Magic? I'm not sure. I converted the PostScript to PDF, and then I opened the file just to show that I created this PostScript file. The tutorial talks about, sending this to the printer, so it's really dated.
So actually the tutorial is right, because PostScript was the language that laser printers up until now some of them still use. But
Right.
it now became something that's and it's PostScript is a language that's supposed to be used for printing, and then it was started using to describe all sorts of images. It was, for a while it was very useful, but then PDFs came along and no one uses PostScript anymore.
Yeah, I love the historical aspect. The text is, you can look at here, that's the image, but here it is telling the printer what to do. I love it. All right. We didn't get to sections in the tutorial about reading from URLs and tar files and cool stuff like that. You can go look that up. We did not get to batch processing, which really was like, here's a bunch of files that I'm opening with Python via glob or pathlib, I think it's called. So you can go read about that. And I'm iterating over yeah, I don't like this syntax. Anyway, it wasn't that, they call it batch processing, but it was really, I'm thinking more, when I think of batch processing, I think of more pipeline, passing things along a pipeline, but doing stuff to a bunch of objects, doing the same thing to a bunch of objects. We didn't cover draft mode, which was interesting too. It's in the tutorial. And this is a way to, without fully loading the image into memory, you can take a look at the image. And let me open.
It's good for huge images, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes this really matters, and when it does, you do this. And what else? We didn't cover. I'm listing all this stuff because I got to the end of preparing this, and I was like, I didn't get to all this stuff. I want to mention some of it. Logos. I made a couple logos with pillow. a while back and had a good time. The code is here. This is another module that we didn't get to, image font. Doing some cool stuff in there. And I did the same for the DC Python logo. I don't know. I thought that was cool. We can get to GIS and VFX. This has actually got my attention. I'm like,
oh, stop for the people who don't know what GIS is. GIS
is big data about locations. So GDAL is
graphical information systems. This is where it comes from, the acronyms. And VFX is what?
movies and TV, visual effects.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So let's go look through this ticket where we see people complaining about, actually Eric, another Pillow developer, opened this in 2016 to document what's needed to support a much requested feature in which we can open more than 8 bits per channel. And we haven't done that yet. So this is why I say I need to go back and start doing C again. And this is gold right here. This description of what happens when an image is opened, if you're into the internals. Anyway, you know, I asked recently, yesterday-ish, people to comment about why it was important, and I got this about GIS and this about VFX, both of which I called gold because it summarizes, you know, why this would be helpful for those particular industries. So it's just one of those things, like after 14 years, okay, yeah, maybe, you know, if we add this, it will make the library that much more useful. I probably left some other stuff out. Like I said before, check out the concepts and the appendices in the tutorial. Also good. And this is a work in progress, but it's, oops, sorry. Check out the concepts and the appendices. And this is located here in the Pillow repository. And I'll probably keep working on this over time to make it better, but thank you, Jacob, for the opportunity. I thought that it was a lot of fun to do this dive into Pillow.
Okay, so don't go away without answering more questions. If anyone has any more questions for Alex, or should I shoot mine? Come on, 20 people stayed, so it's like some of them have questions.
That was long. I'm very happy with the length of time that was. That was
Okay.
Yes, Kevin.
Either unmute yourself or just put it in the. Oh, someone something in the chat. Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to understand the Pillow one, right? So it's basically, I mean, I tried also like showing image, cropping or transpose. So it's basically image kind of processing. You can display and do something like flip, I mean, rotate, crop. So programmatically you can do. That's the like a goal of a purpose of this Pillow library. That's I'm trying to understand the capabilities of Pillow library.
I would call OpenCV better, maybe. I don't know. How do I even get OpenCV? I don't use OpenCV. I've heard people say they use. Jacob just said recently he used it instead of Pillow.
Yeah, I actually had to co-op. Like I scanned like several thousands images on a scanner, but when you put it in the scanner, the images were not like they had this white space around them, so I needed to crop all of them. So I tried to use Pillow, but Pillow does not have functions for detecting things exactly where the corner ends and stuff like this. OpenCV does have those. It's, I cannot say better, but it's OpenCV.
Yeah, it's clearly heavier, as you can see.
Oh yeah.
Let me
Even
add a little bit
installing
there.
it's not trivial. OpenCV is a big image processing library that many people, especially academics, use it. I used it many years ago in different language. Pillow is very basic operations on images. Some of them are not so basic. The
Right.
OpenCV has all sorts of like transformations and functions that are complicated even to understand for someone who doesn't understand the details.
Great question.
It's for experts, let's say it like this.
Okay, so to understand further, right? So I am actually front-end developer. So this library to process, you can do in the back end, and then you display in the if it is in the display in the front end, right? You can just use HTML, whatever IMG source it'll display.
This
you
whole
don't-
presentation is JavaScript. So yeah, I mean, you can look at the source for this presentation. It's look at index.html in this repository. And I'm referring to these images that I've processed in, you know, it's as a front-end developer, the fact that this is a, you know, JavaScript presentation will help you, I guess, understand some of it.
Cool, thanks.
So two things. First of all, OpenCV, if you look behind the scenes, is almost entirely based on Pillow. So, you know, yes, they add support features on OpenCV that do things like edge detection. But if you look at the what's processing the bits, it's all Pillow behind the scenes.
Really? It imports Pillow?
Yes, yes, that is the main thing that OpenCV is using behind the scenes for most of their work.
That rings a bell. I think I kind of knew that, but yeah, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So kudos. It wouldn't exist without your work. That's very fair to say. And then about the front end thing, you know, obviously this is Python. So either you're working with a front end framework, or sorry, with a Python framework, in which case you can just use this server side. I have, however, also done things like you can call Python from PHP. So if you have like an image processing script, you can write you can do all your framework in a normal, you know, Laravel or whatever PHP framework. I did it in WordPress. And you know, you for the part that you're doing the image processing, you just create your Python script and call it on demand. So there's kind of tricks for that on the front end.
Yeah, and I'm just making local reference. Like if I'm a Python web developer, so if I'm doing image processing in Python, I'm writing stuff out to S3 maybe, or the raw, or I'm returning bytes IO or something like that to the front end. It just depends on the context of what you're doing. I don't want to call Python from PHP though. All right, cool. Is that a wrap? Any
I had a question, but like people came in and I forgot. Wait, give me a second.
Sure. I'm looking in OpenCV to see what I installed.
Yeah, I'm not sure it imports Pillow verbatim, but maybe it does. I didn't check because the OpenCV on Python especially it's like it doesn't install well. There's a lot of binaries going on there. It's like even installing it in some specific operating system becomes a problem in OpenCV, while Pillow is kind of like easy. Even Pillow sometimes needs something. Or I know other systems usually try to use Pillow, and it's a problem sometimes if it doesn't install. I've seen it in many graphic libraries afterwards. They all kind of eventually end up in Pillow.
Here's the site packages from OpenCV, it looks like. But yeah, I'm gonna go look that up.
Yeah, but OpenCV and Pillow, they are basically tools in the same direction. One of them is for real experts. The other one is for everyone. Pillow is for everyone almost.
Look at that.
Yeah. It's much easier to understand than some of the OpenCV things that are going on. People can understand cropping and stuff like this.
All right, well, we'll do that next time.
Okay. Well, thank you, Alex. I want everyone to please make some noise, clap, whatever. Give a
Thank you, folks.
Yeah.
So, Alex, are you the creator of the pillow?
I'm the creator of Pillow.
Awesome. Actually, I never met a library author. This is the first time meeting library author.
Well, that's the thing. I created at a time when Pill was not doing stuff that people wanted it to do. The author wasn't responsive. I created the fork to try to get the author to do stuff, but it turned out that everyone just started using the fork. I didn't expect it to replace Pill, and it took about 3 years. Pill was forked in 2010, and about 3 years later, we realized that nothing was going to happen with Pill, so we added one person came along and offered to add Python 3 support, and after that it took off.
But it seems I have to import. I was doing just now. I tried. You have to from pill import image. So still you're like library is the pill than the pillow. Okay, is there a way to fix that, or that's like
Yeah, we've talked about it, but there's no practical way to fix it. It could be fixed, but it would break the world, so we're not going to fix it. It's a historical artifact that you have to from Pill import image. I have another whole talk on
No, it's fine.
the
We also
history.
have every library has those things like Angular. They jumped from I think 2 to 4. There's no 3. So it's like that. There's some stories in every library. Some things quirks. So even JavaScript, I'm sure it has some. So
people still ask. Here's a talk, and there's a PDF somewhere, but this is a talk I gave in 2020 that goes through all the history of how Pillow happened in painstaking detail, which was also a lot of fun to dig through.
thank you. Can I buy a coffee since you are the library author?
Yes. Where are you in DC? So you can buy me a coffee.
I remembered the reason. My
Okay.
question. And this is a very important question. If someone wants to help with Pillow, how can they help? What's the procedure? Do you accept like the call a pull request? How does it work? And also at the same time, if I'm an absolute beginner and I want to start contribute to open source, is there anything in Pillow I can help with?
Pillow, like many open source projects, will accept contributions. A lot of times people will open issues. Here's the Pillow repository. People will open issues and will be like, that's great. Can you send
Show we'll see.
in here somewhere?
Yeah.
People will ask for features and we'll say, hey, can you send a pull request to do that? So people also over the years, we get a sense of who's actually committed to regular development. So like I said, we have between 4 and 6 people that actively work on it. And if it depends on who you are. If you're an individual and you're interested in open source and contributing, by all means, come, open a issue or start a discussion, jump in. I even have this join Pillow team issue. So now if you're the Linux Foundation, you could become a Tidelift customer, and that also is another whole talk. So if you look at open source Linux Foundation, there's some event that's happening right now. Ish. Anyone know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea.
There's an event. There's a conference happening right now. I can't remember what it's called.
About Linux? Is it about Linux?
Yeah.
The Cybersecurity Summit Waltham.
It's in Seattle right now. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, okay, not that one.
Seattle. Let's see.
Ricardo was saying something to he appeared in one of the meetups and
There it
said
is.
something.
Here it is. Open Source Summit North America. So just to get briefly into how to help Pillow and touch on, here it is, some of the politics. Tidelift is funding open source development in a new way, as I call it, the red hat for middle stack. And so you can help Pillow by becoming a developer for Pillow if you're an individual. If you are Google or Amazon or Microsoft, you can be a Tidelift customer. If you use Pillow, you go to Tidelift and say, I use Pillow and I want support. I don't know the details about what they offer big companies, but they offer services on top of open source libraries like Pillow. And thanks, JK. If you are a big company and you use Pillow and you become Tidelift's customer, then our team gets paid more over time. And so that's my long-term goal, is to raise awareness and have the income go up to the point where this is my job and salary. So, and Tidelift and Tidelift style business models are super interesting to me. But anyway, so my point was that here's Tidelift at this Linux Foundation event doing, they have a booth set up and all that stuff. So that was to answer the how can you help Pillow question, in a super meaningful way to me. Or, in ways like that would prevent the next XZ, sort of like pie in the sky ways.
Yeah, remember, people who work on open source many times do it volunteer-based. They don't get paid, and therefore, unless there's a big sponsor, things get done in a certain pace. If there is a sponsor, then okay, they have a little bit more incentive to actually, or maybe a lot more incentive to actually do the job much, much quicker, which helps us all eventually. So if someone is working for a big company with pockets and they are using Pillow, please go to Tidelift, tell that you need it, and it will help development and help boost things faster.
Oh, right. Thank you for the Tidelift link. I will drop that over here too.
Actually, the Tidelift is a really good one. Actually, I was about to ask you. I work in banks. I'm actually based in Toronto. And anytime bank, right, that's a big no-no, because open source library, the problem with the banks is they don't want to lose the sleep if something goes wrong, because there's no support behind it.
There is support.
So that's good, actually.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Like, it's in its infancy, but there is support, and Tidelift or companies like it are providing it. So,
okay, Kevin, I don't know which bank you're working in, but I'll give you one example. JP Morgan is a big bank. Yeah.
Of course, right? They're the big in the world.
Yeah. You know how many people are working there on Python? It's more than hundreds.
A lot.
And I won't say how much. There's like their data science team is huge. It's like, and this is something without me working there. I also used to work in a bank, but like this, what's happening there with it, and JP Morgan is one of the bigger, I think it's JP Morgan. I'm pretty sure it's JP Morgan. Maybe it's the other one. Yeah, you always see like Google, Python, and JP Morgan. They're always there sponsoring conferences and stuff like that. So I gave them this, like, they do support us, like the people who do Python this way or another. They support also development. So banks do support open source to some degree. The question is which one and why. So if you're working in a bank that needs some open source library and needs it in a specific way and modified so they can use it, then go to Tidelift, ask the bank here, Tidelift can make it happen for us. Now, in the past, there were all sorts of open source libraries were a problem. Today, so there were mechanisms that were talked like indemnification. So there's a company in the middle that kind of protects the bank by giving kind of assurances that the open source code is okay. This is in the past. Today, there are all sorts of tools that check that the open source is good enough so you can actually use it in any environment, or any, like you define which you want. And there is some level of checking of open source libraries. But then again, even open source libraries are vulnerable, and not only on libraries. You heard about the recent hack about what happened in Linux, I assume. Like in the XV or XZ, I don't know, XZ, I think it's
XZ, yeah.
It's some German guy just saved the world just by finding some sort of backdoor that someone planted very maliciously and very, very cleverly. So there is no guarantees in the world, but check with your bank. If you want to work with something, there is a way. Because I can tell you that, like, people are working, big institutions that are as secure as banks, if not more, are working with Python and Python libraries. Any other questions before we close the recording? Because we're digressing. Questions going once? Kevin, it's a question you want to answer, ask, or?
No, I'm just saying thank you. Thank you, Hughes. Thank you.
Okay, so guys, thank you again for Alex. I'm going to close the recording now. Wait a second, last few seconds before the recording is out. So Alex, thank you. We're off the air. Don't go away. We're sticking around. I'm just stopping the recording.
All right.